What's going on? It's Caden Cleveland here with the Oklahoma Senate, and you're joining us for another episode of OK Senate on Deck. Of course, we're joined with our President Pro Tem, just like every week, Senator Greg Treat. But this week, we have a special guest, the Majority Floor Leader of the Senate, Senator Kim David. Senator, thank you so much for joining Senator Treat and I this week.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
Awesome. Well, Senator Treat, just to kind of kick it off and get things rolling, can you kind of give us an update on what's ahead this week in the Senate?
Well, all four of our priority items that I've talked about every week on the Senate Republican agenda are moving forward. The House is going to consider those, and we're making really, really good headway. We had, the government accountability bill that's already been signed by the governor, with constitutional carry already signed by the governor. And both of those issues that I talk about, Senator David was instrumental in getting those done. So glad we have her here to add some context.
Absolutely. So Senator David
Yes.
brought up constitutional carry there. Can't let that go without getting some explanation from you. That's been one of the biggest things that's been talked about this session so far. And you were the author on it here on the Senate side. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about the work that's been done on it so far? And there's still some work that's being done on it, correct?
Yes, there is a trailer bill that's coming up on it, but
Trailer bill, will you explain that
yes,
to people?
yes, I will. We had the original bill that was passed, and there were a couple of concerns that were brought up, especially by the Tulsa Chamber and the Oklahoma City Chamber, having to do with the gathering place in Scissortail Park here in Oklahoma City. So we came to an agreement on a trailer bill that we would change the language that, constitutional carry basically is allowing everyone to be able to open carry or conceal carry without a permit.
Right.
Not until November 1st.
That's very important.
That's
note,
very
right?
important.
We've heard some people some people in the news thought that it started immediately. It does not start until November 1st.
People were already sending me pictures, but this is what's going on because of your bill. Well, the bill doesn't go into effect until November 1st. So what we've done, though, for the gathering place, for Scissortail Park, and for the zoos, we put together a trailer bill that said that in those places, or those types of places, you have to conceal carry.
Okay.
So you can still carry your weapon because really we can't prevent it because it's not like you're going through a magnetometer into a park. But if you're concealed carry, then at least in a place where you have a lot of children running and playing and big crowds like that, you don't have someone with an open weapon that might be taken from them by somebody else and cause a situation. So
Gotcha. So that was one of the main concerns there was about the original bill with constitutional carry, and it sounds like just all those kind of gaps that were in that original bill are all going to be resolved by the end of session. Is that correct?
yes, that's our
But let's not just talk about the negative. I mean, that was a huge deal to be able to get constitutional carry here. And we have reciprocal agreements with other states, and so many people are still going to want to have their license from the state,
Absolutely.
but just not required for Oklahoma citizens to exercise their Second Amendment right going forward within Oklahoma only.
I have a permit, and I'm planning on keeping my permit just because I travel so much. It's much less hassle when you're traveling across the nation to go ahead and have that permit if you want to be able to have a weapon on you or in your vehicle.
And there was compromise to protect private property rights. So we talk about the trailer bill fixing some gaps, as you said.
Yeah.
But the bill was very well thought out, methodically negotiated, and a huge improvement over what we've seen in the past, protecting the Second Amendment, but also protecting private property rights and our universities. And really, you and Leader Eccles on the House side, I think, really are the ones who negotiated most of that.
Yeah.
They did.
So, Senator David, we've been receiving mainly two questions that I hope I'm going to throw out to you here about the constitutional carry. A lot on social media, some here on the podcast. And the two questions really pertain to where people are allowed to carry. And the first place that people are concerned about is, are people allowed to now carry on educational campuses?
Yeah.
So kind of walk us through that first.
Well, the plain and simple of it is where you can carry now, you can continue to carry.
Okay.
And where you cannot carry, we didn't change that. We didn't change any of those laws. So all the protections, you still will not be able to carry a weapon into a Thunder game, or anything like that, all those areas that you are currently prohibited from carrying a weapon, you will still be prohibited from carrying a weapon. The only difference you're going to see is that you can open carry or concealed carry, and you won't have to have a permit. You know, we have 2 states that touch Oklahoma that already had open carry, and because of
reciprocal agreements, yeah, reciprocity.
Reciprocity,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's one of those. I'll have to put the definition down at the bottom.
Because
Yeah.
of reciprocity, that meant that anyone from those states could carry in Oklahoma constitutional carry. They didn't have to have a permit because they weren't required to have
Right.
one in their state.
Gotcha. Okay, so the second question that we've been getting quite a bit has to do with background checks. And can you kind of speak? A lot of people are scared. Well, they're getting rid of all background checks to purchase a firearm. And walk us through that also, because that's the second most common question we get.
You will still have to have the NICS check, which is what you currently have to have to be able to purchase a firearm.
Right.
So that has not changed.
Gotcha. Okay, just plain and simple there.
Plain and
One,
simple.
nothing's changed. You cannot carry firearms into any educational campuses. And 2, there still will be background checks. So those things that most people are concerned about, nothing's changed from what it was before this bill actually passed, which is kind of interesting. But yeah. So Senator Treat, kind of turning over to you here. Moving into this week, another week of committee work. You mentioned a lot of our agenda items are still on track. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
2 working groups they're ongoing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both with a Thursday deadline. So on April 4th, Thursday, I've asked for 2 reports to be handed back to me. One, Senator David is chairing on executive noms, and we can have her talk to that. And I think that group is working very well. It's a bipartisan group. You know, when we made the government reform, landmark, historic bill that will transform Oklahoma's government for the next century.
Yeah.
One of the things we talked about during that was how important Senate confirmation was. But in acknowledging the importance, we wanted to beef up our process. And so Senator David's been in charge of that on the working group that I appointed. And then I appointed another group to look at pensions and look at the proposals on the COLAs.
Yeah.
Now that's
a big topic going on right now.
Oh, huge topic.
Yeah.
Now that's an internal Republican caucus working group right now, and it's going well too. Senator Jason Smalley has been chairing that, and I've been to both the meetings at the very kickoff, and then Senator David and Senator Smalley have been leading those, and I've been getting reports. But I would love to hear how the executive nom committee meetings going. The COLA meetings are going very, very well. And I look forward to the report on Thursday.
Great. Senator David?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to talk about it. You know, when we first started in this process of trying to decide what we really wanted, what type of information we wanted in front of us to be able to know whether we had the best candidate or not, you know, that conversation went on for quite a while. We decided to start with the toughest one, which was the directors. I mean, those jobs are the most important. When you have a director of an agency who's overseeing a budget, you know, $2 billion plus, you want to make sure that if you're going to confirm them, then we have the right person doing the right job. So it took us a while to get that part done, and we had a great discussion and a lot of valuable input. And I think what we've come up with, we will actually be able to get to you, Mr. Pro Tem, well before the deadline.
Oh, excellent. Like to hear that.
It's recorded here right now.
We will have staff putting together that kind of the template of it, and then we'll do the final approval on it. But really, once we finished with what we needed on that top spot, and then going to the secretaries and then going to any of the board members after that, it was much easier.
Well, because you kind of put that template in place, and everything just kind of fell into place.
And everything just kind of fell into place,
Gotcha.
and we tried to come up with a very simple sheet that it was across the board. Everyone had to give us, and then the governor's office would have to supply us with any other information. You know, I think the most important part that the group wanted was they wanted to make sure that if there was any proprietary information, that they weren't given that from the governor's office. They were just giving a report from the governor's office that this checked out, this checked out, this checked out.
Wow.
What we're wanting from the candidates is them to sign off on those types of things, and to sign off with penalty of perjury if they lie on that. So if they have lied in any of that, and it comes back on them.
Right.
Well, and part of the negotiation on these government reform bills is both the House and the Senate reserve the right after someone is confirmed by a 2/3 vote of both the House and the Senate, we can remove an agency head. Hopefully we never have to exercise that right.
But there is that accountability
Yeah.
there. Yep.
Absolutely.
And we can say, hey, you were not honest with us on the confirmation process. If that's the case, I doubt we'll experience that.
Yeah.
But we always have to anticipate worst case scenario, and down the road when we're no longer here, how do we make sure that the public is getting all the information they need and that we're making the most informed decision?
Gotcha.
It's a very important topic to make sure we vet these candidates properly.
Yeah. There's just a lot going on this year. Huge accomplishments being made just on the topic of government accountability, which is one of our the Senate's GOP's main agenda points was increasing government accountability. And you can just go down the list of all the things that have changed just within the past 3 months. It's amazing. So
it is, and I want to point out something. Not to get overly partisan. I never try to be partisan, but when those bills progressed through the process, it was a straight party line vote on a couple of those. But I made a commitment on the floor and in committee that the Senate would be committed to having bipartisan input on how do we make the process more robust. And I want to take a moment to honor Senator Kay Floyd, the Democrat leader of the Senate. Although we had a different philosophy on how the executive branch should be run and the functions and everything, she and Senator Kurt are both part of that working group. And from what I understand, they've been very productive members of that working group of having really good thought out input. And so this is not a Republican or Democrat issue. This is making sure that the Senate is well represented. And if we're well represented, the people that we represent back in our districts are well represented. It's a very serious topic.
love that. Love that. Senator David, do you have anything to add on that?
No, I just want to say that yes, Senator Floyd and Senator Kurt were fantastic in the committee. You know, that both of those ladies are extremely intelligent, and they have a lot of professional background that they added a lot to that committee.
Awesome.
So I appreciate the fact that they were on it.
Man, that's cool. Well, kind of shifting gears here, I wanted to highlight something, Senator David, that's been kind of a really cool honor that you've been able to run with this year. I mentioned that you are the majority floor leader for the Senate, and you're actually the first woman to ever hold that position. Is that correct, Senator Treat?
Yes, in statehood. As far as we've been able to tell, we've tried to go back and prove ourselves wrong. But I think 2019, became a state in 1907, and it took till 2019. But Senator David's doing an amazing job there. She and I came in a couple months before me. She reminds me of that on occasion.
You're the senior member.
I am.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, right? 30 seconds is.
She does have seniority. Interesting aside. So people often ask me, why did you run for pro tem? Why did you want to be the head of the Senate? It really has to do with, the seniority of Senator David and other people in the class before. They were always like, hey, we're a class. We're going to stick together, until it came to parking spots and offices. And the only way I could – no, I'm playing.
That's true. It's true. You got the last pick.
Yeah, I was a class of my own. I tried to take that as a positive, but it was really – they were like, hey, you're part of the class of 2010. Until it comes to office spaces
until
and
actually decisions –
But now look at you. You're pro tem, okay?
And you're floor leader. And I think a lot of people don't understand what the difference between floor leader and pro tem is. Tell people, listen at home.
I work for you.
Well, I just wanted to hear that. No.
And with that, we'll sign up for the week.
No. I mean, the job of majority floor leader is the job I held before I became pro tem. It's so funny, when I became majority floor leader, when Pro Tem Schultz appointed me to that position a few years back, a lot of people were like, hey, congratulations, you're running the Senate. That's awesome. You're the person in charge. They get confused on the title.
Right.
The majority floor leader does the pro tem appoints, but Kim and I have worked together since we got here, and have been close allies on DHS reform, on trying to get government under control. We've worked together. She was the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee when I was the vice chair, when we were trying to reform DHS and try to get a handle on the healthcare budget. And so I have a ton of trust. But explain to people what majority floor leader, what that entails. Were there any surprises from, when you switch from appropriations chair to that? And just tell us your story.
No, there weren't a lot of surprises. believe me, I enjoyed turning over the appropriations chair to Senator Thompson. After the last 2 years of the struggles that we had in the state over the budget, it's been nice to move into this role. It really has, and I'm very humbled, and I appreciate the fact that you appointed me to this spot. And it's very humbling that I'm the first woman in it. I mean, I have to laugh sometimes because this is 2019, and it was 2018 when I was named into it, but I'm serving in 2019 as the first majority leader, and it's just like, seriously? This is 2019, not 1919.
Yeah, right.
So it's still a little surprising that there are ceilings out there, but it's also an important point to make. There are still ceilings out there for women. One of a very dear friend of ours who's been in the Senate just as long as Pro Tem and I have been in made the comment to me last week when we were sitting around and going over bills, deciding what bills were going to be on the floor the next day and what order they were going to be, and we were looking through pieces of legislation, and he said, well, because things are pretty much equal now. He goes, none of this is necessary, right? I thought the other women in the room were going to come after him, so I had to protect him. I was like, Senator, it's cute that you think that, and it's a little naive to think that. There are still ceilings.
Wow.
But we're breaking them every day.
Well,
I appreciate that.
I don't want to use a person's name because I'm not trying to make fun of anyone, but we were in a meeting just yesterday before we taped this with a gentleman who he knew who I was. And when Senator David started talking, he said, "No, who are you and what do you do?"
Yes.
I didn't ask that of some of our male colleagues, but I don't try to look for things around every rock. But there are some real issues. And Senator David's, were you the first female appropriations chair too in the Senate?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. So she's broke a couple of those ceilings. It's it's important. We all have spouses or daughters or moms. My daughter is 7 years old, and I want her to see that she can do whatever in the world she wants to do. And so when I hear men sometimes make excuses, he's just of that generation. No, I don't want my daughter to walk into that. I want my daughter to realize that she can do anything that my boys can do.
Yes.
And so I think you're an inspiration
Absolutely.
on that level to young girls, whether you know it or not.
Well, and I've raised a strong daughter also. So
yeah, a very strong daughter.
I want to make sure that my daughter also knows that she can be president one day. So.
Yeah, major.
Absolutely.
Love it. Well, Senator, thank you so much for just telling us a little bit about that. I mean, that really, truly is. I mean, just thank you for being an inspiration and being a pioneer in all these different fields. So thank you. But
Fleur,
so much.
I want to explain that real quick. I know you're trying to cut us off.
No, you're good.
I mean, tell people practically what.
Okay. The basis of the job is, I get to read all of the bills, and
you get to read all the bills.
I get to read all the bills, and I've been asked several times, "Do you really read all of them?" Yes. I read every single one of them, and then I work with staff, and we assign each one of those bills to committee, and then once they make it through committee, then, like I said, we sit down with staff, and I sit down with my assistant floor leaders, and we decide what's going to make it on the floor. What day it's going to be on the floor, and in kind of what order. And we try to group them in, like if there's a day where we have all the government reform bills.
Or criminal justice.
Bills, things like that. Yes. So anytime we've got a group of really important bills, we always want to make sure that we keep those together.
Right.
And then once we kind of go through this process and we flip from the House to the Senate, I also work with my counterpart on the House side to make sure that the bills that are important to us get shepherded along, and they do the same thing with me. So we work on that side of things, and then of course because we're both working on Representative Eccles and I are both working on making sure the criminal justice reform bills are pushed through, and when they're pushed through, and make sure everything is shepherded along. So we kind of babysit those important bills through the process. And then, like I said earlier, I work for the Pro Tem, so I also do whatever else he assigns me to do, which is an important job, really, when you think about it, because I'm not elected into this position. Mm-hmm. I'm appointed.
Right.
So this type of position should always be the one. Sometimes it has to be the hatchet person too. So people can be mad at me. it doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. So when people have to be told no and no,
Right.
you can't do this, then that's my job.
part of the job,
That's
right?
part of the job.
Yeah, we're not
It
literally
is.
having our hatchet anyway.
I know.
No,
how
yeah.
it is. That's a
Yeah.
form of speech.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, Senator, thanks for walking us through that. I mean, really, you can't, I guess, explain enough all the work that you put in as our floor leader and along with Pro Tem.
Well, the
Crew.
interim work too. We're going to cut this off because we got to go to a meeting. But the job of the part-time thing, I've talked about how that's
Oh,
really
right.
a misnomer in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But over the interim, before I even officially became pro tem, before she officially became floor leader, I assigned her the task of putting together the agenda working group
Mhm.
and managing that. So
The rules working group.
yeah, the rules working group.
Yes.
So it's a, I don't want to say catch-all, but there's a lot of things they do that are not in
Mhm.
the job description.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Well, we are here about out of time, but before we sign off, Senator Treat, do you have anything to add before we go?
No, send us questions. I say
Yeah.
that every week. Send us questions, and I hope you're enjoying it.
Absolutely. Senator David, how about you? Any last words?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being our special guest this week. And guys, thank you so much for listening this week. Hope you're able to learn a little bit about what Senator David has going on, all the updates from Pro Tem Treat, and just for listening and being willing to learn a little bit about what's going on here at the Senate. So next week, I think we're going to have another special guest on, maybe talk a little bit more on pensions and COLAs, maybe have Senator Smalley on potentially. So that is something to look forward to, and we'll be back here next week. And until then, y'all have a good week, and we'll see you soon. Bye, guys.